If you want to raid the largest, most defended city in all of England, and they've erected a ginormous defensive structure across the entire of the River Thames, how could you possibly get through? Well, I guess that works. Welcome to Vikings Valhalla. We just got the second trailer going through so much footage, and it shows us how intense the production is going to be. I want to dive deep into every scene, every new character we see, what battles and moments from history we can expect. It is jam-packed.
I hear drums.
No. Shields.
As alluded to in the previous trailer, this is very much going to be a story focused around a lot of the events happening in England. And we see two new characters here, Prince Edmund and Emma of Normandy, who will reflect a lot of the Saxon side of that story. But the thing I'm more interested personally in looking at is now we're in this new era, 100 years on, we should expect a lot of that binary divide between Viking and English kind of fading and intermixing. We're already seeing Normandy very much in the Saxon Spear, a land that was founded by our boy Rollo, very much a Viking enclave in France. I say that, but they still juxtapose the neat, ordered, uniformed ranks of Englishmen with our stereotypical, loud, badass, leather-strapped, furred up, ragtag, dirty bunch of Vikings we're used to.
You have been summoned here to avenge the death of Vikings!
You can already tell how amazing this show is going to look and feel just from these shots alone. Myself, and I know many of you, had expressed concerns this could have been a cash grab, spin-off hoping to ride the coattails of Vikings, but it seems they are putting a genuine effort to make this work, and we haven't even got to the good part of the trailer yet. So the dialogue here gives us the first inklings around the plot and direction the story will begin to take, as we hear about how they've been summoned to avenge the death of Viking. We know from the first teaser that Leif had actually came to this part of the world and got involved and sent his family here because of this vague summons, and now we're getting some context around what that was and why there's a kind of sense of purpose with this new group of Vikings. We can never know exactly what Vikings will take from history, but we can pretty safely say this is inspiration from the St. Bright's Days massacre. This is an event where King Æthelred at the time decided he wanted to kill off all the Danish settlers in his territory. We're not talking hordes of Vikings who were trying to overthrow his kingdom, but everyday settlers and farmers who had been in the region for years. So you could see how this could quite easily galvanize a lot of Scandinavians to come from all over and stop this tyrannical and violent king killing their people.
Bring me England.
So in the first teaser, we followed more of Leif, his family, the everyday Viking who was mixed up in these big geopolitical events. And now we're seeing a bit more of King Canute and Harald Hardrada, the major leader figures in this Viking force. So the major conflict they are showing us in this trailer is centralized around this one bridge in London, which to little surprise is inspired from, you guessed it, the Battle of London Bridge. It's not that complicated. For me, this does seem a little bit strange. We're kind of seeing this clear divide between the English faction inside of London defending themselves from this Viking coalition sent to avenge their people, which is a cool narrative and we've seen them do it before, but the actual history of this event is a lot more interesting and could make a better story. You see, after King Æthelred decides to take out all these Danes and incur this wrath, and we have this large amount of unruly rest, he's kind of kicked out of his kingdom and has to run away from London, losing it to Danish forces. He then has to go hire a bunch of Norwegians with King Olaf to help him kick them out. And so this battle is actually Englishmen trying to reclaim London after losing it with the hired help of a bunch of Norwegian Vikings. And that kind of strange alliance would represent the time period a lot better and how everyone's kind of mixing and interweaving in different ways. But who knows, they could go down more of that route. The trailer's pretty fast and we don't really get a full grasp of what's happening.
This blood is not my blood! It is our blood! It is Viking blood!
Yeah, pretty epic. So we can kind of already see a lot of the play-by-play of this battle and guess where it's heading. We have this young, fresh-faced prince who's in charge of the forces and leading the front, a prime victim for a bit of Viking trickery. He sees a bunch of heathens on his bridge trying to take his London. He comes out of his fortifications and meets them on the bridge. We've got blood and weapons and axes, and he starts to push them back. Bit by bit, their shield wall, their formation starts to falter. The Vikings are kind of falling back on the bridge, and he pushes and he pushes. And then we see these three boats rock up out of nowhere. An elite team of Vikings get in behind, they tie up these ropes, take out the archers and the defenders from the back, and they bring that shit down, leaving our prince and his forces trapped and cut off from his own city. We even see from this one shot where the boats are kind of pulling up and they've got the roads pulling, that you have these kind of roofs over the different galleys protecting the men there. And this comes from the story of the Battle of London, where it's said that King Olaf's forces stripped the roofs of a bunch of buildings from outside of London and put them on the boats to shield his men from arrow fire. So they're even following those minute details pretty well. Obviously this battle is going to be pretty epic and amazing and high budget, but it will also achieve a bunch of really key things for the story, I hope. First off, it can be the proving ground for our main protagonists. Freydís and Leif will really prove themselves as warriors to other people. They'll test their grit and achieve something pretty cool. And more broadly, it will tell us what the story of England and this entire show wants to tell. Characters like King Canute and Harald Hardrada will likely be the main leaders in this beginning season, but it's Leif and his story, and maybe even Prince Edmund after he's defeated and has to reset, that will define the entire show, the direction it wants to go. Leif Erikson is supposed to be one of the greatest Vikings of all time, so he definitely needs to do more than just tear down one bridge. Massive budget, huge battles, great character development, a story I'm actually so excited to see. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. February cannot come faster.